Howdy, everyone. Welcome to This Old Vegan. My name is Merlene Vassal. In this video, I'm going to discuss how the original Star Trek series laid the foundation for me to become vegan decades later. I was born in 1962, and I grew up watching reruns of the original Star Trek series with a couple of my sisters. The series premiered in 1966 and ran through 1969. At that time, I was only 7 years old. But we all know that Star Trek has been running in reruns perennially ever since. The reason I loved and still love the show so much is because it was so forward-thinking and ethically correct for the most part. When I was a kid, ethnically and racially diverse characters were not portrayed in a positive light for the most part. Women were not portrayed as being capable of doing much besides looking pretty and having children, again, for the most part. And animals were hunted, eaten, or exterminated, again, for the most part. Star Trek presented a different view, a view that was more empathetic, compassionate, egalitarian, and cooperative. It was a view of what the future could be and how people could relate to each other and to other species. This had a huge impact on my personal moral development. One of the most eye-opening episodes for me as a kid was Let That Be Your Last Battlefield. Two men, black on one side and white on the other, had been chasing each other through space for 50,000 years, trying to kill each other. One black and white dude claimed that he was the superior race because he was black on the right side, and the other dude was black on the left side. As it turns out, while they were chasing each other around, the entirety of their species had already wiped itself out in a war. This helped me to understand just how ridiculous racism and speciesism are. The second episode that comes to mind is called The Devil in the Dark. It's about a group of miners on a planet who are being killed by a large creature called a Horta. Kirk and Spock soon figure out that the reason that the Horta is killing the miners is because they are mining and collecting silicone globes that turn out to be the Horta's eggs. So the Horta was actually just trying to protect her eggs. Of course, by the end of the episode, the miners make peace with the Horta, and the Horta ends up digging tunnels for the men in exchange for them leaving her eggs alone. That's not exactly a fair deal for the Horta, but of course I learned the lesson that we should try to respect others, including other creatures, and also try to understand them and why they do the things that they do. And more directly to the point of dietary veganism, there were a couple of episodes where it's revealed that Spock is vegetarian, which of course makes sense because Vulcans are logical and nonviolent. I remember in the episode City on the Edge of Forever with Joan Collins, Kirk goes out looking for groceries for himself and for Spock. He brings back bologna and a hard roll for himself and assorted vegetables for Spock. And I'm hoping that Spock was kind enough to share some of his vegetables with Kirk so that he could have a better diet. Now, not all of the themes of every single Star Trek episode were ones that I would agree with. In This Side of Paradise, the episode where plant spores were shooting out onto people and making them high, Kirk scoffed at the settlers on the planet who had become vegetarian and were extremely healthy and happy and living peacefully in harmony with nature. According to Kirk, it was unnatural for humans to not be constantly striving for something more. Now, even when I was a kid, I disagreed with that sentiment, but can't love every single thing about Star Trek. Anyway, we've all heard 1,000 times that Star Trek was ahead of its time and often predicted the future. I think that was true in many cases. The show wasn't perfect, but it definitely withstands the test of time with its timeless themes. If you've never watched the original series, which is hard to believe, I would highly suggest that you check it out, and especially if you have kids, watch it with them too. If you have watched the series, maybe it's time for you to check it out again. Anyway, this is how Star Trek laid the ethical foundation for me to become a vegan. Live long and prosper. Please share your thoughts in the comments below. Thank you for watching the video, and I look forward to seeing you next time. Take care.